Hey, hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right. So, this is part two. If you didn't see part one, you will find that there is a free link right there in the description box. You can bounce over one and then bounce back over here. Thank you guys so much for giving us a thumbs up and subscribing, especially if you do enjoy these longer videos where there's, two or three parts to them. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Thank you for being here. So, we left it on a bit of a cliffhanger, which is what we got to do part two. This this is a situation where, to me, there's been something that's been wrong, and it's time now to really address it. Now, I feel like this could be the King of Wands who is ready to address this. We have a Two of Pentacles in the reverse. To me, that just looks like the confirmation that there's no waffling nor wavering. Yes, it's time to address it. But what was it? Actually, let's change decks here. What was it that went wrong? What was it that went wrong? Make some space. Tell me what went wrong here. Queen of Wands, King of Wands. Well, honestly, that looks amazing. We had a perfect match. We have them marching toward our high priestess, possibly, who, I mean, this was a done deal. They were an amazing match together. Okay, how did it all go so wrong if we had such an incredible thing? We had a Four of Swords in the reverse. We had a Seven of Wands upright. Even though there should have been no boundary or barrier between them, there was. This is a blockage, even though either they didn't say this, they didn't explain. I've recently healed from something. I'm not really out of it yet, even if, I mean, this could also be that they didn't, maybe they alluded to the fact that they had some issues still in their life, but they didn't give themselves enough time to heal. This could be that it was they weren't finished healing from something, and that was a blockage. But they tried to move toward her at a time where it was like, I mean, of course they're a great match. We rarely get a king and a queen that come out together like that either. And this is clearly the King of Wands that we've already been talking about. Okay, so tell me again, the Fool. They were blocked on taking this leap of faith. Okay, then why was it implied that we're a perfect match and I'm coming towards you and my heart's on fire? Why did they do that? Also, I have to say there's an awful lot of Eight of Wands. There's an awful lot of crossover. Okay, so in our first deck, we saw that I said she's kind of like a Mary Poppins character. She's kind of somebody who listens to their intuition. She's got her umbrella there that kind of like is the way that she lets the universe kind of lift her and fly her around. Then I have to say that we have a lot of additional like crossover from these different decks where King of Wands, King of Wands. Then we have the King and the Queen of Wands together. And then to top it off, we have this exact same character. There's a lot of confirmation in this. We see his handlebar mustache, his close cropped hair. It's the same person again and again showing up in this story. So we have a very tightly woven story, a lot of crossover, a lot of repetitious confirmation, even though what we've used three different decks now. And I just think that that's awesome when we see that much crossover. But on the other hand, it means this is, to me, because it's such a tightly woven story, there's a ton of emotion here. Ton of emotion binding this together. This is very important. And it's been like, I'm picturing like a really, somebody who's making like a carpet, the old fashioned kind where they actually have to put I don't know if it's called a bobbin. I can't think of what it's called right now. And, they're weaving it and then they use that thing that pushes the yarn up. Somebody who's making a really intricately patterned carpet or rug on a loom. That's how interwoven I feel this storyline is between these two characters. We've called her the queen, or excuse me, we've called her the high priestess, and now we see that she is indeed their perfect match. But there's all this weird stop and start. They are so ready, they thought, to take this leap of faith with her when in fact they were blocked from really being able to do it, even if their desire was there to take the leap of faith. Meanwhile, she was completely ready and was again, the winds of the universe like brought her into their world, brought her into their life. So this maybe is why we have that imbalance, right? I said, what is the unfair bit of this? And they're like, I'm ready to talk to her. I need to send her a message. And she sensed this message was coming, even though she never thought she'd talk to this person again, although her life was not the worse for having them not a part of her life. But they are now coming in to talk to her. They were not ready to move toward her, even though I think their heart wanted to. They were on fire for her, but they had this blockage. And it was a blockage of either they hadn't healed. I mean, this person could have given the impression that everything in their life was fine, because if we only saw this, we would think, cool, calm, collected, very well put together. But if we see this, we see a person who is clearly in a cage. They're covered in the story of their life with these tattoos, and their life has been variable. They have had, we see fencing matches, we see lions ferociously roaring, we see hurt, pain, love, we see all kinds of things on their body. We could say that this person has actually had a very, I'll say rich, but also possibly tumultuous life. And if that is the case, and they were not sharing, hey, I'm actually stuck because I still haven't healed, and I haven't told her the stuff that I haven't healed from, but my heart has this warmth and I want to move toward her, but then I can't take the leap of faith toward her, but she was ready to take the leap of faith toward me. If this is what needs to be addressed, the injustice of I didn't tell her that I was still trapped somewhere. Now I need to tell her that. It's finally time that I send this message. It's now it makes more sense why in part one we saw this Two of Swords, and these cards were sideways. Once upon a time, they wouldn't tell her what their obstacle was. She eventually shut the door on them altogether and said, I don't want to talk to you then. I think this is a relationship where these two, there was love and there was a perfect match, and they blocked it, or they personally were blocked from having this perfect match with her with no explanation. Now it's the time for them to explain this. Why were you so blocked, character? We have a King of Cups in the reverse. They had a lot of emotional blockages. This is not free-flowing emotional energy. This is somebody who's not going to say how they feel. Then why did you act like you initially were like on fire for her and wanting to move toward her? I don't understand if there was not going to be emotion. Again, with the umbrella, the Five of Cups. It's as if, because my question is, why did you act like you were on fire for her and you knew that she was your match, but then you're too emotionally blocked? Why go toward her like this at all? And this is a weird response from them, but there's an element where it's as if they sensed that she was a bit of a lonely soul as well. She was someone who had gone through some illusions. Once again, there's that umbrella. The umbrella can be protective. It can be, in this metaphor, it's the direction that she's willing to go and listen to the universe. But what I think is that she herself has been someone who's always been willing to give love, protection, and caring to others. That's very attractive, especially to someone who is not actually emotionally available because they're wounded and they're still stuck in their wounds. They may have found that she felt like someone who wanted to give them love and give them like safe haven. But on the other hand, they also thought that she needed safe haven. So if their emotions were drawn to her, even drawn to her loneliness, there's a really great song by my favorite Beatle, George Harrison. She takes a breath away from heaven. And in it, he says something about like, I was captured by her loneliness, a wounded tiger on the willowy path. It's very poetic. It's a beautiful melody too. But that comes to mind right now. Here's the thing though, if they're saying, well, I felt like she herself had some huge disappointments and was kind of walking alone, and there was something about that aspect that I was really drawn to in her, then why did you proceed to then move toward her but not give anything more than what, passion? Is that what they shared? Was it just intimacy? But they wouldn't open up emotionally. because I don't see how they offered her much of anything other than maybe they're saying, because I noticed she was one of my kind. She was in a place of sorrow. I was in a place of wounded energy as well. I recognize that. So maybe they're saying it was a bit of a trauma bond that made them go toward her. But here it says they were passionate, they were, very attracted. So at this point, they're coming forward to say, I'm sorry that I stayed blocked. I'm sorry that I stayed without speaking. Well, I don't, what am I saying? There's no sorry card here. That's not true. It simply is they're realizing, or they are ready to address what was so imbalanced, so unfair. So, kind of their argument about why they were drawn to her, why they moved toward her with that passion, doesn't really hold water, because it doesn't look like they were coming toward her to offer her any kind of support, but rather they were drawn to her because they were like, um, oh, there's another song. I like how you're broken like me. Um, I can't think who sings that song. It's kind of an upbeat little ditty, though. I don't know that that's 100% true. I maybe they wanted to give her passion, make her feel really special because they've recognized, like, how can somebody as attractive as you feel out there in the cold? Let me show you how passionate I am about you, how sexy you are. I can feel that you have a loneliness. Let me give you, a confirmation that you're super hot, you're super sexy, you're super desirable. Maybe they thought they were doing her a solid, even though they're like, but I'm too wounded to open up emotionally. Never had that come up in a story before, and that definitely bears thinking about. They were very drawn to her, very attracted to her. That's, I mean, undoubted. They really wanted her, but they also saw a wound in her, and a wound that they somehow almost shared. But they didn't come in and say, now let me stay and let me build this with you and let's be together. They were still too blocked. And maybe that's why they're saying, I did you an injustice and I didn't tell you that part. I wasn't in a place where I could have given anything, but you're so attractive and I could sense you have wounds too. And I wanted you to see, like, you're super beautiful, you're super attractive, but I didn't tell you, but I can't stay. Whereas she felt for them and would have taken a leap of faith. She was drawn to them too, instinctively. She was drawn to them and she would have taken a leap of faith to be with them. That's where the injustice comes from. That's a very thought provoking message on this one. Um, I'm not saying I like it or I don't like it. I'm just saying that's a thought provoking message for this fictional story. Um, Actually, let's get the universe to weigh in on this. So if they're coming forward to explain some of this, actually, hold on. Stay with this for just a minute. What do you want to say to her? You are the one setting the message, is what it appears. Knight of Pentacles. Could we maybe gradually move forward? What does that mean? Eight of Pentacles. Could we gradually move forward and maybe transform and change, the way we started out? So wait, what do you want from her? King of Wands. Ten of Swords in the reverse. I want to undo the hurt that I caused. So, why did you stay silent for so long? I think that's a valid question. The Hierophant. I had to sit with myself and do some growing. They, look, they were in a place where they needed to learn some things anyway. They needed to sit with their higher self. Okay, now let's change to the universe, because I want to say, universe, was there, I mean, I always give my characters in my stories complete free will, right? So I assume that what they do, they do. She was drawn to them also because of her intuitive nature. They were drawn to her because I'm willing to bet they're pretty intuitive as well. They were wounded. They thought she was wounded, and they thought somehow showing her how sexy and attractive she was, they could match in that way, and that would somehow be enough. But she was ready to have taken a leap of faith with them, and they believed that that was really unfair, that they had no intention of really giving their emotion at that point in time because they were still too wounded. And then they sat, instead of communicating, they were too busy thinking about their higher self. Did meeting her somehow push them deeper into that Hierophant energy of connecting with their higher self? Princess of Cups and the Devil. Um, I would say meeting her definitely made them look long and hard at where their real toxicity was. They're not just wounded, or they weren't just wounded. They were somebody who kept maybe making the same mistakes and not genuinely getting themselves out of wounded energy. They were trapped, and it might have really highlighted just how down the rabbit hole they were. They meeting her might have made them see some things in their own life where it's like, wow, I thought I just wasn't really emotionally available, but it turns out I'm kind of a really big hot mess. I wasn't just drawn to somebody that I could feel was lonely. I have a toxic pattern. And now I have a deep need to apologize. Meeting her, I have only just now realized what kinds of games I play and what I haven't been looking at in my own life. Okay, so this definitely pushed them down this road of, I'm surprised we don't have like the Hermit or something. I'm not going to say Dark Night of the Soul though. Instead, they went down the road of like really going through some serious growth, looking for wisdom, needing to figure out. It's like they didn't even realize how toxic they were. They thought they were a little bit wounded, not really emotionally available, but they did not realize they were absolutely living a this devil card is particularly a mess. I don't know if they were chained to something really, really toxic. I'm sorry, these people don't have clothes on, so it's the only reason I'm keeping them covered, kind of, even though there's nothing, can't see anything inappropriate. But Capricorn energy, I don't know if they were in some long term commitment that they never bothered to mention that was super toxic. Yeah. They needed to take charge of everything in their life. And this only became apparent after they dealt with her, maybe because she fell for them and she would have taken a big leap of faith on them. And then it was like, oh my God, this is somebody who I thought she was just wounded. And I thought this is how wounded people behave. Like we, crash into each other, hang on to each other for a night or two, have some passion, and then everybody walks away able to cope again with their miserable situation in life because, hey, we're all stuck, and kind of just in misery. But then, we have these moments in life where we cling to each other and it's this little happy, exciting instant or two of mutual attraction, and that boosts our confidence, and then we can cope again with how miserable we are instead of making change. Meeting her and having her actually see, I think they misjudged her entirely. I don't know why they thought she was so miserable. Universe, why did they think she was somehow a sad, lonely person who'd been wounded also? I mean, everybody gets wounded, but Six of Sacred Circles, Nine of Sacred Circles, they thought, well, she's alone, so she must be miserable. They had no idea she was super confident. She was super confident. They thought she needs somebody to tell her how great she is. We got to take this to a part 3. This one's getting too long. Guys, the free link will be there in part 3 or in the description box. Thanks for giving us a thumbs up and subscribing. I will see you in part 3.